Hey everybody, it is with thanks to English Electric Motor Co that I have this Zero FXE on loan for a couple of weeks to do some videos and give you a review. Today I need to head into the city and go on the motorway, so let's show you what this thing is like on a motorway. Now, to my understanding, and I haven't got this point clarified yet, this is thought to be the 11 kilowatt version. There isn't a huge difference between the two. Well, there's a few horsepower according to one of the figures, but apparently it's not noticeable. That's what Alec from English Electric tells me. But I don't know. So I'm going to work on the basis this is the 11 kilowatt, and it feels like it's performing like the 11 kilowatt I had before. Because the FXS that I previously reviewed is the same bike underneath. Come on. And that is why I'm not doing specific range testing on the FXE, because I've done it on the FXS, and the FXS and the FXE, the same bike underneath. It's not going to be different. If I notice a difference in any way, I will mention it when it comes to the review, but at the moment everything seems completely normal. Wasn't sure what was then, if it was mud or poo or oil or what. And you see, getting up to speed, up to 70, is easy and effortless. And when you're up at these sort of, you know, the 50 mile an hour speeds and you're caught in a bit of traffic, but you want to speed up a bit, it doesn't take long. And then you move across again. I knew they were going to do that. So here we are, 70 mile an hour, cruising along. Predicted range at the moment is saying 45 miles. Thank you to those people, they normally don't do that, it's interesting. And also interesting that I'm on electric and they still noticed me. Because that's the big old thing about, you know, electric in the city and stuff like that, is that people think you will not be noticed. And I have a video called The Sound of Silence that goes all over this. You do have to take responsibility for pedestrians though, because obviously they can't always hear you. I mean, a lot of the time people have got headphones in anyway, so they're not going to hear you even if you were on a normal bike. And you have to do the same thing in that case anyway. But maybe an extra moment of just, yep, they probably can't hear me. They can't hear me! They've got AirPods in! No! Thing is, where the FXE is quite small and light, okay, yeah, you don't get a massive range compared to some of the bigger, heavier bikes, but you do get a lot of agility and ease of use, and it's very light, and it's an absolute city weapon. And if you only need like 60 miles in a day most, if you're going to actually be blatting it around, you know, you can get more miles if you go a bit more careful. I think it covers most people's commutes and getting around the city. Not a courier, to be clear. They're better off with slow bikes. You know, like the Super Socos and stuff like that, that they only do 55 mile an hour, and they don't get there very quickly, but they are much more economical, and that's why a lot of companies have gone with those bikes as their fleet bikes. Obviously they're a lot cheaper, so companies would rather use those sorts of bikes than a bike like this. Those are 125cc equivalents that actually ride like 125cc's. This thing, as I've said before, is a 125cc equivalent, as in you can ride it on a CBT, assuming it is the 11 kilowatt one, and I'm pretty sure it is. But this thing rides more like a, you know, 400. It's quite warm today, like 26 degrees, something like that, I think. And one of the definitely noticeable differences between this and my petrol bikes, even my DR, is the fact that when you stop at a set of traffic lights, you don't start cooking. You feel cool and refreshed. You know, you got a cool breeze over you. There's no heat coming out of this bike. Sure, well, there is some heat, the motor's getting hot, but it's so low down and out of the way, it's not affecting me, and you don't feel it wafting up. My XJ6 is, well, it's called the ball cooker for a reason. Now comes the question of security. I need to go to a place here to grab my sister a birthday present, and I've got two options: either very public, but it's public, or more hidden, and it's more hidden. You know, public is good because lots of people are around and people won't start angle grinding normally. Yeah, let's go with the public option. Don't worry, I've got additional security on it. There we go, I got my sister's birthday present, so that's all sorted. There's anything I needed to come into town for, and that kind of just shows the convenience of these little things. Not having to need to warm this bike up is great. When you need to leave, you just like grab the bike out, shove the key in it, jump on it, and go. There is no warm it up or anything like that. And also it's always full of fuel. Obviously, because I charge it overnight, I wake up every morning and it's got a full tank of fuel, as it were. I would say my ride into town here is reasonable compared to some people's commutes. You know, because I think the average commute is like less than 20 miles, and I've done about 13 or 14 to be at this point. And I've been on the motorway that obviously eats the battery, and I've still got 80% of my charge left, which means I can easily ride around for a bit and then go back home and still have the mileage to get back home. Or you could probably do two, if you were working here and lived where I did, you'd maybe get 2.5 runs out of a single charge. So charge it every other day, but you don't do that, you just charge it overnight because it takes a few hours and it's done by the morning and you have a full tank, as I say. Shoulder checking on a push bike. Fair play, lady, fair play. Wait, oh no, it has got a hub motor. I was about to say, damn, she's quick. But that is a good point, actually. There, you know, around the city, if you don't have to commute in, an electric push bike, you know, no insurance, no tax, much lower purchase cost, reasonable range, reasonable speeds, that's a good viable option. It's just effortless. Dab of brakes to give me just a split second's gap would be lovely, my friend. You're doing 40, I'd like to do more. For local errands, I actually prefer using this to my own bikes. I say for those ease of reasons, like, you know, not warming up and stuff like that, but I just really enjoy the ease and the comfort and the, you know, you're not using the clutch and the gears and stuff, and it's this is hard to explain, okay? This doesn't feel like an automatic scooter in the way that it rides, because you feel like you've got the power of a bigger bike, but it's an auto. Whereas on a scooter, yeah, okay, it's an auto, but it takes so long to get up to speed. There's so little real power there. So as I say, the trip off the island into Portsmouth and back again is going to end up being around 25 miles-ish, something like that. Maybe a bit more. It depends on the wiggliness of the roads around the city that I took. But I've still got 65% of my charge remaining, and that included doing, you know, a couple of miles at least, 2-3 miles of 70 miles an hour. Well, 50 to 70, depending on where I could actually get up to 70 because of the flipping traffic. But you're going to be borderline close doing that twice off of a charge. I mean, as I say, I've got 65% left here, and I've only got a couple of miles to go. But you know, it's cutting a little bit fine. I mean, if you can charge the bike at work, then great. You can shove a charger in it, and during your working day, you'll come back and it'll be fully charged again. And that is obviously the ultimate solution. And that is part of the infrastructure which people talk about that actually is an issue. You know, people say about infrastructure this, infrastructure that. There's a lot of it's already there. The cables are already under the ground. The power stations are not at maximum capacity and can produce more power. There are many reasons it won't necessarily be the problem that people think it will be. But the logistical issue of not enough leads or power points to plug your electric car into, and then where that cable goes. I mean, the other day I was in the local Tesco's off the island, and they've just got an electric charger in there, which is something I didn't have before. There was two or four cars, I think it's a double one, I think you can get four, I'm not sure anyway, but 2 or 4 cars parked around it, and they weren't using, you know, like the charging cable, like a petrol station pump handle charger end that you get on some of the like 22 kilowatt chargers. These people were using their own plug-in ones with a long cable, and there was literally, and I mean literally, both of them had like 10-meter cables, you know, so you can get down someone's driveway. Great idea to have a long cable, of course, but it would look like a massive trip hazard. And then it was a thought that if everyone has an electric, how is this going to work? But the answer kind of is that every bay needs to have electrical connections, and charging stations in the future won't look like petrol stations, because people always say, you know, well, petrol stations have only got like 12 pumps, so it's going to take 8. Who's going to make it look like a petrol station? It's going to look like a giant car park with hundreds of charger points. That's what will be the future. It will be large multi-storey car parks will be bought as charging stations, or maybe multi-storey car parks will then have charging stations and charge you to charge while you park. Maybe you won't pay for parking, you'll pay for charging, or something like that, you know? I did see a thing recently about cars using wireless charging, using, you know, the same standard wireless charging setup, which, if you don't know how wireless charging works, it's very simple. You have a copper coil, which can pick up electrical fields. You then have an emitter, which is an emitting electrical field, where the copper coil picks up and then takes that power. It's not great at transferring energy in the air, and it hasn't got great distance and stuff like that, but you increase the size of the coil, you increase the size of the emitter, you can increase the size of the charge you're putting into the vehicle. So the ideal solution for cars, at least, is that underneath their engines, or underneath the bike car somewhere, it's got a flat panel which is a big copper coil for wireless charging, and every bay has a wireless charger in it, and you just, you know, drive into the bay and sit there and it will automatically start charging. Another alternative to this is you could put copper coils all under the road, so the roads are powered like a upside down, what are they called, tram? Yeah. Okay, I think the one under the road's not such a great idea because of the amount of copper that will be required. Well, in the car parks, again, it's going to require a lot of materials, but it can be done. I think that's definitely the answer to electrical charging. I say it's going to be big scale car parks, not petrol station style stations. I've talked about the stereotypical sort of person that says, I don't want electric, it's not until it does 1,000 miles and blah blah blah. I actually had that comment, it was a genuine one. Until electrics do 1,000 miles and charge in 4 or 5 minutes, I'm not interested. Why? What, petrol? You don't expect petrols to do 1,000 miles? And I was trying to work it out. If it takes a couple of minutes for me to fill up my DR, or a minute to fill up my DR, which takes 10 litres and does 100 miles, it's going to take me 10 minutes to fill a petrol bike with petrol to get 1,000 miles. So why would you then expect, you know, an electric to do it in 5? It's, you're talking from your emotions, not your brain. And you're talking from your arse, not your head. But if someone's opinion is they will not get an electric until that is the reality, then fine. Don't get an electric until that is the reality. As well as being able to change the power modes and all that sort of stuff on this, and by the way, I was using this in sport this whole time. I could have been doing that in eco, although I wouldn't have had the same top speed and got more miles out of it. But the thing is, who wants to ride a bike slowly? You know, you want to ride it like a normal bike, so you are going to ride it like a normal bike. So where was I? Yes, you can adjust all the modes on this, obviously, but you can also adjust what's displayed on the screen using the app. I had to do that a couple of times before it seems to take effect, but I've done it. So I've got range remaining over here. The thing is, though, that doesn't seem to adjust that much with your driving style, like on some of the other ones I've ridden. You know, if you're gunning it around, it's like, oh, it's really low. Then when you slow down, it quickly goes, recalculate, okay, this you'd get more. It's saying 36 at the moment. I'm thinking this might be related to mode. Let me just change mode. There we go, eco. Still saying 36 miles. I mean, I'm confident with 59% battery I'm going to get more than 36 miles. I should, I'm pretty sure I should. As it happens, I have to take Reno into Portsmouth this evening and wait a couple of hours while she's at her Japanese lessons. So I will be riding up there, but I won't be riding on this, because the thing is, I ride around for a couple of hours, you know, ride up there, drop her off, a couple of hours riding around, and come back. I'm not confident that this bike would have that range, because, you know, I will really just ride around for 2 hours straight. It is such a good time to just clear my head, you know, get some fresh air, do a bit of people watching, sometimes make a video, sometimes don't, just listen to music. It's become a good little routine to take a couple of hours and just ride on my own. And as I say, for most things it wouldn't be a problem, but this bike, that trip, is probably not going to work. And of course that's where 22 kilowatt chargers come in, because they can charge bikes an awful lot faster, but this can't do that sort of rate. A little while back I reviewed the Energica EVA Rebelli RS, which is a pricey bike to be sure. However, it did charge to like 80% in about half an hour, I think it was. And it got a lot more range, obviously, because it's a bigger, heavier bike with bigger, heavier batteries. But I'd be confident that that could do it, but not this one. This, as I say, it's lighter, it's nippier, it's nimbler, but it's not for the long distance. And obviously with the slower charging, you can't repeat or stop and top up. 56% of my battery remaining, and it's saying a 35-mile range, but it's been saying 35 miles for a long while. So I think the way that this one works is it's just working out. It's kind of like one of those timers on a computer program to when something's finished processing, and it just keeps adjusting, It's gone up to 36 now, so it is learning a little bit. Interesting. Anyway, if you did find this video interesting or useful, please do hit that like button. I would very much appreciate it. And if you want to help support this channel, please consider doing that through Patreon. Links in the description. Many benefits to that, and it only costs as little as $1 a month. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye bye.